Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tarnation TV production, Flatout Racing Network on commentary this evening. My name is Blaine Donald, and this is Tarnation TV, and this is the Rolling Thunder Gaming Racing League here in NASCAR Racing 2003 season, the one and only, the Talladega Challenge, season number 67. We're starting the final rounds. There's only 2 races left to wrap up season 67. And interesting tidbit that we received from Race Control just before the race started about where exactly will the playoff drivers start tonight. I don't know. That's called a teaser. As I said, I'm Blaine Donald, joined by Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole.
Yeah, and Blaine, as you said, a little appetizer there as to what to expect, as there is indeed a special caveat that the championship drivers that will be competing in these final 2 races, this final round of the playoffs, agreed to. We mentioned about it all the times, folks, at the end of the broadcast to tune in next week, because a lot can happen in the span of the 7 days from one Thursday night to the next. When we went off the air last week, we said that tentatively, unofficially, we had a final 5 to compete for this season 67 championship, and that was all true. However, during the course of the week, as admins went back, overlooked the review of last week's previous race, there were some drivers that ended up getting hit with post-race EOL penalties. 3 drivers, in fact, ended up, 2 of them getting placed at the tail end of the lead lap. 1 driver scoring actually stopped earlier on in the race. Because of those 3 drivers being put towards the back of the pack, that moved Tim Nofsker, who was leaving last week's race, tied with Rodney Sullins for the final spot. That moved him up 3 positions in the final finishing results. As consequence, Nofsker sat 3 points ahead of Rodney Sullins. Rodney joined 3 other drivers eliminated from competing for the title, so it is officially 4 drivers that will fight for this season's championship. Those drivers, 2 drivers that got in through victories in this previous round, Chuck McClure and Donnie Garrett. The points leader at the conclusion of that round of 8, Grant Wesley, and the final spot going to Tim Nofsker. However, as Blaine alluded to, Kyle, we're going to be talking about this, I think, maybe quite a bit beginning portion of this race. All 4 of those championship drivers, these next 2 races, a lot of it's going to be consistency. Most points accumulated over the course of these next 2 weeks, you win the title. But tonight and next week, all 4 agreed they're going to do it from the back.
I've never heard of anything happening like that before, where championship contenders, they all agree to start at the last 2 rows of the field, but here we are. Boy, it's going to make things even more exciting tonight. And it's interesting, you look at the final 4. You've got the defending champion of this series, Chuck McClure, and then you have the 3 drivers, the only 3 drivers, I should say, who have scored multiple victories this season. So talk about the cream rising to the top at the right time here. It's going to be interesting to watch, so that is for sure.
It definitely is. It will be interesting to see as well here tonight, because this is the first race of the final round, and we've of course had first races of respective rounds, the round of 12 and the round of 8, where we kind of for the most part said that the playoff drivers going into those races probably had a must-win mentality, so that way they had the automatic lock into the subsequent following round in 2 weeks' time. Went into that elimination race worry-free. Is it possible that any of those final 4 could be approaching this race as a must-win? Because the win won't give you the championship this week, but it certainly will give you max points. And if the rest of your competition run into trouble tonight, maybe some breathing space going into the final race of the season.
It can give you max points. It could also give you momentum. I mean, and a big boost of confidence, I would imagine, too. So, yeah, if any of those 4, I could definitely see them trying to go for the win tonight. Would not surprise me one bit.
We have seen, ever since they brought about this 2-race final round system, we've seen the title come down to just 1 singular point. And I did look, we actually do have confirmation if by the end of next week there is a tie for the points lead for the championship. They do actually have criteria in place for tie breakers. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But then we got to remember, yes, there's 4 drivers that are battling for the championship. There's another 32 drivers out on the racetrack tonight that they want to be the first one to the checkered flag as well. Obviously, a number of them eliminated from the playoffs. A bunch of them never even got to be a part of the festivities of the postseason. And they got 2 more chances to end out the season with momentum in preparation for season 68. 32 X Factors out there. That's not exactly great odds if you're the championship 4.
Not to mention, you're going to have drivers out there that are looking to earn a spot into the All-Star race here coming up in a few weeks. That's on their minds as well. So that's the great thing about racing. There's always something to race for, even if you're not in contention for the championship.
Absolutely true. I mean, tonight is the potential final race of the bracket challenge. Brian Schilling, he's been waiting and waiting week after week to find out who his eventual opponent was going to be. Grant Wesley is going to be that opponent. Now here tonight, if Grant is able to finish ahead of Brian, they will go into a sudden death rematch next week in the finale. But if Brian Schilling can defeat Grant Wesley outright tonight, he would end up picking the Bracket Challenge Championship up 1 week prior to the conclusion of the season. So we'll keep tabs on that. As you said, Kyle, there's just so much to keep an eye on during the course of this race here tonight. And I don't know if it means anything, but going back to the drivers, those 4 championship drivers starting at the rear of the field, I took the opportunity here once we were told that that was going to be taking place here tonight to see what is the furthest back that the championship 4 have started in the random qualifying draw this season, and what was the subsequent result in that same race. Again, it's super speedway racing. This may mean absolutely nothing, but for Tim Nofsker, the furthest back that he has started was 41st position in a 42 full car field. He finished 19th in that race. For Donnie Garrett, he's actually started dead last in this race, 42nd. He finished in 23rd. For Grant Wesley, his worst starting position was 36th. He brought it home in the top 5 in 4th place. For Chuck McClure, the worst starting spot he had this season was 32nd. He also scored a 4th place finish in that race. We've seen drivers have the ability to work their way from the back to the front. But let's also keep in mind, Kyle, that last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot more cautions than we did the latter half of the regular season, the first couple of races of the playoffs. So there's no telling that the chaos may not break out early, and it may turn into a race of survival, especially the first half of this race for those 4 championship drivers.
Yeah, and what do you do if you're starting back there? Like, what kind of strategy do you employ? Do you try to charge to the front as quickly as you can, or do you try to lag back, kind of run in the back a little bit, test the waters? See how everybody else is running before deciding to make a move. If you think it's going to be chaotic or you get to hold back, it's going to be fun.
You also got to bear in mind, too, I mean, I think we've beaten this horse to death all season long about the value of that lap-led bonus point. Well, got to be kind of patient before you get up there and get that bonus point if you're those 4 championship drivers, because who knows, maybe the bonus point for a lap led between this week and next week could be the difference maker between you being the champion or the season's runner-up. Drivers are gritting up here. 36 drivers going to take the green flag here tonight. And Pat McCarskey, he draws the long straw this evening. He nets the pole position, that valuable number 1 pit stall, as he'll be joined on the front row by Glenn Harris. Terry Bombard will be with Ron Hagelin. They're back in row number 2. Row 3 going to find Robert Spring and Joe DeSpirito. Billy Ellis or Bernie Mobbs in row 4, with your top 10 completed by Mark Paglia and Graham McDonald. Dennis McCarthy, he's back in row 6 with Ken Roberts, Rodney Sullins, and Bobby Farrell, row 7. Brian Schilling, he's back with Josh Metallic in row 8. Schilling looking to win that Bracket Challenge Championship. Kelly Causey, Michael Norman in row 9. And your top 20 will be completed with Brian Lovell and Jeremy Jeffries. Row 11 finds Denny Carroll and Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Row 12, Richard Martin and Cody Lamas. Row 13 is going to be Mike Mangialardi and Brian Rawson. Row 14 with Cy Jones, Ulysses Sandoval. Your top 30 completed with Greg Lovell and Tim Anderson. Doug Hulick and John Godfrey, they will be back in row 17. And your final 2 rows will consist of your 4 championship drivers. It'll be Chuck McClure, Donnie Garrett, Tim Nofsker, and Grant Wesley shotgun on the field. One of those 4 drivers in the span of the next 2 weeks will be the champion. It all starts here tonight. You got to be consistent over these next 2 weeks. And as you said, Kyle, 3 of those 4 drivers have been to victory lane multiple times this season. Grant Wesley won the regular season championship. We've obviously seen that these drivers, they are very good at consistency as well as finding victory lane when it's needed.
Looked like the 7 of Cy Jones nearly lost it on the pace lap right there.
Just warming up his tires, I think.
Another thing I noticed, you said that Ron Hagelin was supposed to start in the 4th position. He disappeared right before they went out onto the track. You see Joe DeSpirito now lined up in the 4th position. Not sure what happened there, but it's rather interesting.
So that whole outside row is going to move up a position. Potentially Hagelin just starting parking here, maybe not starting this race. Might be an off-track admin, who knows? But with his not being on the grid, looks like it'll be 35 drivers officially that will end up taking the green flag here tonight. So for 4 drivers, the opportunity to claim the season 67 Talladega Challenge Series Championship begins. For 32 other drivers, they're looking to be the first to the checkered flag. The final round of the playoffs is green at Talladega. Looked like both the drivers in the respective second row, inside and outside line, Bombard and DeSpirito, tried to time that green flag, gave some pretty good shots to both McCarskey and Harris. They'll remain door-to-door down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's a pretty even start there for the front row. It's like McCarskey going to inch ahead just a little bit right now. It's getting a nice push there from Terry Bombard in the 10. And now he moves up to the outside. Pretty common sight right there.
McCarskey from the pole position, going to get himself a bonus point for a lap led. Stacks them up side by side for second place. Bombard on the bottom, Harris on the top. That's Robert Spring, the black and gold, number 74, second on the inside line. The Liquid Death Chevrolet. DeSpirito still third in that outside line. And there's a lot of drivers that surprisingly got eliminated from the playoffs, didn't make it into the playoffs. At 24 of Joe DeSpirito, multi-time champion. Keep an eye on him. He's still looking for his first victory of the season.
Just goes to show you how competitive this series has been, especially this season. I mean, it's more of a surprise of who didn't make the playoffs and who hasn't won the season than who has. I mean, just...
Kelly Causey went up there to the third lane. Looks like he is drifting to the back. That may be on purpose. That's going to be interesting to kind of keep tabs on here as well, is the fact that we know that at a super speedway, you really can't win by yourself. You got to have friends, teammates, allies, what have you. You got to wonder, who does the 17, the 088, the 77, and the 88, who do they have? Who have they maybe recruited over this last week to try and get to work with them to get them to the front, keep them at the front?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. Like you talk about the 17 of Chuck McClure. We've seen the last couple of weeks here that him and, probably his best drafting partner out there has been Tim Nosker.
Yeah.
Well, the only problem here is they're both racing for the championship, so might have to find a new strategy there.
Eddie Carroll with a big move from 8th place to the inside of Brian Lovell. Right behind him, you've got that very familiar petty blue number 43 of Richard Martin. I mentioned about the fact that since they implemented the 2-race final round of the playoffs, there was a season where the championship was decided by 1 point. Richard Martin was on the winning side of that championship. The only driver in recent memory that ended up winning a title here on Thursday nights and didn't win a single race that entire season.
And you mentioned a little bit ago the tiebreaker for the playoff rounds is, I believe, wins, top 5s, and top 10s. They'll work their way down that list. And from what you guys have been saying too, it's not out of the ordinary for there to be some tiebreakers in effect.
interesting at that point, too. I mentioned about the fact that maybe you don't necessarily come into this race in a must-win mentality, but with 3 of the 4 championship drivers tied at 2 wins each, there is a possibility if we have a tiebreaker, it could be between 2 of those multi-time winners. Maybe you do want to win this race, so you have the tiebreaker going into next week.
And it'd be really interesting if Chuck McClure wins one of these 2 races right here. That would give him 3 wins.
Just muddy the waters further. Are you manifesting a 4-way tie, Kyle?
I mean, anything's possible in this series, as we've seen, so...
I wonder how many level of tiebreaker they have. Like, they have to make it official. It has to be written down somewhere, Wins is a gimme, top 10s, top 5s. Then we start getting into some crazy territory. Laps led,
Or they could just have a bonus race like in cars where it's just the 4 of them racing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The winner of that race wins the championship.
At Bristol.
Rodney Sullivan's making it 3 wide up top there. The Black Rifle Coffee sponsored machine, but the Bob Dixon throwback, we saw him debut that a couple of weeks ago. He's got Mark Pagley up there with him, Dennis McCarthy as well, Brian Rawson starting to make some forward progress as they've broken into the top 10. Greg Lovell stuck in the sucker hole going backwards as he's got cars to both his left and right, and nobody on the back bumper.
For people watching on YouTube, do you have Alton Sullins in your YouTube chat? Because I don't have him in mine.
We do.
Ah, there you go.
Yep. We had, just before we went green, Let's Do It 38. And right now he is doing it. Last time by, scored in the 9th position. For those wondering about those championship 4, about to complete the 7th lap of competition here tonight. Looks like Donnie Garrett has made the most forward progress. 28th position for him. Grant Wesley right behind him in 29th. McClure right behind them in 30th. Nofsker currently in the 33rd spot. And kind of keeping an eye there towards the back. It looks like Grant Wesley is migrated up to the 3rd lane. Nofsker staying on the bottom, as are Garrett and McClure.
Tell you what, Donnie Garrett's been the most interesting story of all these drivers that are of the 4 drivers racing for the championship. I mean, you talk about somebody coming in clutch. In order to make the playoffs, he had to win the final race of the regular season. He doesn't. Last week, he was in a must-win situation to have a chance to move on to the final 4. He went out and won the race. I mean, this guy's determined. There, and you talk about somebody with the momentum heading into this week, it's definitely that 77 of Donnie Garrett.
And you go back to when he won that regular season finale, he said, I have a history of being really good when the playoffs come around, and he's proved it so far. He ran into some trouble in the first race of the round of 8, which put him in that must-win situation last week. Certainly tonight, hoping for a much cleaner race and not have to have that type of a scenario going into next week to be able to win the entire thing.
And I always like to think the artwork on the car has something to do with it. He switches to the purple car, and he's been having great luck in that new rig. And the only purple car on the track, too.
Yeah, racers are superstitious about that kind of stuff. Sometimes you run a car and just absolutely nothing good happens. You switch your paint scheme around, and sometimes that seems to change your luck. So, yeah, I'm a big, firm believer in that.
Pat McCarskey's led every single lap here tonight, but maybe not this one. He's stuck in the middle now.
We had a move and then a reactionary move that actually pans out here for Despirito and Mobs. They moved low because Rodney Sullins and Mark Paglia got to the right rear quarter panel and were coming up the outside. And it's gotten them to the race lead. Ken Roberts there with them as well. And as you said, McCarskey in that middle line, they are going backwards. One of the drivers in that middle line there, you talk about drivers being superstitious. Jeremy Jeffries was finding no luck this season at all. Ended up debuting that General Lee paint scheme, and I think it was only a couple weeks after he debuted the car. He parked it in Victory Lane. He's back in that same livery again here tonight.
That's a beautiful car, too, so I love seeing it out there. It looked, and it definitely seemed to change his luck around, so we'll see how it runs here tonight.
I love how in their Facebook group they have the race winner graphics every week, every series. And the week that Jeremy Jeffries ended up winning on Thursday night, they ended up having a picture of his car leaping over the field on the back straightaway.
Boy, Ken Roberts had him a moment right there. Not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if he made contact with somebody, but we saw him shoot up the racetrack. Did a nice job of hanging on to it right there. That could have been a big wreck.
And a couple of drivers have a little bit of difficulty there in that outside line. Mark Paglia was a little off-centered with Rodney Sullins earlier on. And then you just mentioned that incident there with Ken Roberts, and that's kind of broken up the momentum they had moving forward. That middle line is stalled out with Rodney currently side by side with Richard Martin for the 4th position. Now they will close the ranks once again and see if they can get the momentum back, continue forward progress.
They do have a third line going on the far outside. I believe it's the 024 of Dennis McCarthy leading that line, but don't seem to be making a whole lot of progress right now. It looks like they're falling back, actually.
I think that Grant Wesley was actually leading that third line for a moment. He's found a space in the middle line now, right in front of Kelly Causey. With the double zero there behind the 8A, I almost wonder if when we saw Kelly earlier on in the race drop to the back, if he was dropping back to pick up Grant.
Very well could have.
Yeah, they work together a lot, so that might have been part of the plan.
Well, the momentum's back for that middle line. Last time we checked in, Rodney was side by side for 4th. Now he is side by side for the race lead with Joe DeSpirito. A couple of Chevrolets going to be wheel to wheel coming off of turn 4.
A couple of drivers looking for their first win of the season, which is awfully surprising. We mentioned Joe DeSpirito, Rodney Sullins right there. He's been extremely consistent all year, but has yet to put that car in victory lane.
A lot of drivers up here that fall into that category. Bernie Mobbs there and that Scott Speed or AJ Allmendinger Red Bull throwback on the inside line. Mark Paglia, the Lotus throwback on his outside. Got some other drivers back there like Glenn Harris. How about Ulysses Sandoval? We saw him, multi-time winner a couple of seasons ago. This season still looking for that first victory, and Pat McCarski did a good job of staying up here at the front after starting from the pole position, currently around the 9th, 10th position in his Dodge.
Looks like Sullins, Sullins led the last lap here. Looks like he's going to lead another one, just barely over Joe DeSpirito.
Still locked up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, just about all the way through this field. A couple of drivers at the very tail end of the pack that were looking to make a third line. Robert Spring was one of them, but it doesn't look like really anybody at the moment has any interest of going 3 wide. Big reason for that could be the fact that we're about 5 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to start making green flag pit stops, so they may be more looking to migrate down to the inside line than up to that third line.
And we don't have a full field tonight, which is awfully surprising. We usually have, knockout qualifying, or at least the maximum number of entries. But we only have 35 cars here tonight, so I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah, streak ended after last week. We've gone 12 straight weeks of at least 40 starters. 35 drivers, that's still a lot of points on the line there for the championship 4. As now the top 3 all going to clear across the nose of Joe DeSpirito, Sullins, Paglia, and Roberts. That all in preparation for the upcoming green flag pit stops. And we talked about the strategy for the championship 4, what type of race to prepare for. Should they maybe get themselves geared up to avoid an early caution? Now it's going to come down to execution on pit road, and a lot of those drivers, Wesley, Nofsker, McClure, a lot of their victories ended up coming about in races where you had to execute on pit road to maintain or even gain more track position, avoid the penalties. So this kind of falls into the wheelhouse of exactly how they ended up making their way not only into the championship battle, but into the Final 4 tonight.
And I know we've mentioned this several times this season, but how many times have we seen green flag pit stops play a huge factor in the outcome of this race? We've seen a lot of mistakes, entering pit road. That's really where most of it's happened. So everybody got to be thinking about that.
The thing of it is, too, could be mistakes that you make, but a lot of times it's mistakes that others around you make, and you suffer the results of it. That's got to be weighing on the mind of the Championship 4 as well. Got to be hoping that whoever they decide to pit with, that they all get on and off of pit road safely. Well, Grant Wesley's been the man on the move of our Championship 4. Third on that outside line. He's now cracked the top 10. Got to go quite a ways back before you find the next championship competitor. Donnie Garrett, all the way back in 29th. He, McClure, and Nofsky have yet to crack the top 20.
Here we go. Pit stop starting.
Joe DeSpirito, Bernie Mobb, some of the first. Richard Martin off
around
into the grass.
Yeah, McCarskey got a little sideways coming in there and tagged Martin.
Little dodge on dodge violence there.
Oh, I don't like seeing that. Huh?
Eddie Carroll with a moment, trying to get into his pit stall.
Just a moment.
Donnie Garrett was a part of that group that came to pit lane, the only one of the Championship 4 in this pack.
Looks like he got to pit road with no problem. Looks like he might be the first off of pit road of that group.
And
comes Rodney, going to lead him down.
Bunch more.
Ulysses
Grant's
staying
in
out.
Pack.
Everybody locking him up.
Boy, Metallic had to swing wide, but he just barely made the commitment down there.
That was a huge group of cars.
Yeah.
Looks like everybody got through cleanly, at least getting onto pit road. That was impressive.
Beautiful.
That had all the remaining 3 Championship 4 drivers in that group there. Grant, Tim, and Chuck. Think about this too. I just realized this. With the Championship 4 taking the challenge of starting at the rear of the field this week and next week, that means they've got the last 4 pit stalls. They've got the first 4 stalls at the entrance of pit lane. So, you can't really hot pit there. You got to get the thing woed up to be able to get to your stall as soon as you hit the commitment line.
I'm curious whose idea this was, and I can't believe they all 4 agreed to it.
I believe it was a Tim Nofsker brainchild from what he told us. But he said that this seemed like the ideal first season to implement it. They'd been talking about it for a while. Tim said he would never have any championship drivers do something that he wouldn't do himself. So since he was a member of the Final Four this season, he thought, let's try it out this season here where I'm having to also try the strategy.
Well, it's totally fair from that perspective. So,
Black flag 033.
Up right there for Tim Anderson.
I don't believe he's under power, actually. It sounds like he might be
out of fuel?
Yeah. He got a penalty, and I don't know if he's going to be able to roll it back to his stall. Looks like he's going to be able to make it.
I think he's going to be good. I almost wonder if maybe he got bumped on pit road, may have had him miss his pit stall, and had to come back around. Just almost didn't have the fuel to be able to do so.
And serving a penalty too. So, yeah, when you have no gas, make sure you don't miss your pit stall. He hit it, so he'll be all right. I saw McCarskey came back down too, so he probably, he was responsible for turning Martin, even though there was no yellow. It's still serving his penalty there as well.
And you mentioned about Martin, he was able to get the car to his pit stall, take service, but I believe he is going to cycle around right in front of the race leader, which will be Rodney Sullivan. So he'll be technically on the tail end of the lead lap in front of this pack of, I believe it's the top 4, maybe 5, as Jeremy Jeffries, I believe, is going to be able to latch on to the back of Grant Wesley.
Now Richard Martin's hoping for
now. Yeah.
Now Richard Martin hoping for a caution flag. Doesn't really need to stay in front of the. Doesn't need to really stay in front of the leaders right now. He's in. He could always rely on a free pass, but they're coming up on some other cars there to put them a lap down. So we might have a race on our hands for the lucky dog spots if a caution were to come out.
It's Tim Anderson, Cy Jones, Denny Carroll up ahead. After the cycle of pit stops, we didn't have any lap cars, but we are now about to. As that trio are going to be bypassed by race leader Rodney Sullins. A couple of others just a little further up ahead there. One of them is Pat McCarskey, and another one of them, I'm not sure what exactly happened on pit road, but Chuck McClure is all by his lonesome in the 30th position on the back straightaway.
Yeah, he was in that second group that came down pit road, that huge group, and didn't see anybody have any issues there, but could have always missed something in that matter too. So
it's like Tim Nofsker, Donnie Garrett, they're in a second pack. Garrett right now, I believe, is scored in 16th. Nofsker just a couple spots ahead in 15th place. They're in a pretty big pack here of about nearly a dozen drivers. So even if they don't draft up to the lead pack, they're still going to be in good shape to more than likely not fall a lap down under green flag conditions. But I'd be a little concerned if I'm that 17 car here in the early going, especially in the fact that I'm certainly not trying to jinx it, but this is looking very similar to the type of races we saw at the end of the regular season, where once we got past that first round of green flag pit stops, it continued to trend green for the remainder of the race. McClure right now is in needing a caution territory.
yeah, definitely nervous right now is 17 of Chuck McClure.
I went back and looked at it. McClure made the pit stop and he went back around to the drive-through.
Oh, wow.
So he might have got caught for speeding.
Our scoring didn't show anything.
No,
for him
I didn't see it pop up.
getting
But
caught
I
for speeding, so
rewound it, and he went down, got service, and then went around one lap and did a drive-through. So,
wow. I mean, I mentioned it too, and it isn't the first time that Chuck, I'm sure, has ended up having a pit stall that is that close to the entrance of pit road. But out of the championship for this season, Chuck McClure has started the furthest up in terms of having his worst starting position, which was 32nd. That's a pretty decent distance from the entrance of pit road. Entirely different when you're in one of the final four positions. So you have to wonder if maybe that was a bit of a unusual sensation for him and he wasn't quite prepared for getting the car woed down with the passer. We don't obviously know if he got the black flag speeding entering pit road or leaving pit road, but you got to wonder if having a pit stall that far back maybe played a factor.
I know it's early on here in the race, but we talk about the championship. Another thing you brought up in the pre-race is the bracket challenge. You have Brian Schilling and Grant Westlake. Well, look where they are on the racetrack right now.
Never fails. You can be battling somebody for, in this case, the bracket challenge, or for a final spot and advancing to the next round of the playoffs, or maybe even for a final spot in the playoffs in the regular season finale. You will always find your competition.
Kind of scary how that works out, but here we are once again. These guys starting to run side by side a little bit. That second pack is got to be liking what they're seeing right now. That's going to allow them to close in even more.
Taking a look at lap times here, you would think that this group, the second group being led by the 6 of Brian Rawson, with having more cars in it, that they would actually be turning faster lap times. That's actually not the case. This group back here, they're turning roughly between 48.1s to 48.2s. The leaders up ahead of them, they're running 47.7. So we're talking nearly half a second faster for that lead group as opposed to the second pack.
Well, as soon as I say that, now you got about halfway through that second pack. These guys are side by side right here. So see Josh Metallic, Tim Nofsker, Donnie Garrett among this group.
And here's the thing, too. I mean, for Donnie Garrett and Tim Nofsker, yes, they're not up in the lead pack, but they're not running badly. They're both running inside of the top 15. This pack here scores 6th back to, it looks like, about 19th place. The problem for them, though, is the driver that they're trying to chase down Grant Wesley up in that lead pack. He's currently in the 4th position. So with the math going into next week, if the finishing results were to be as they are, Johnny Garrett would be going into next week 7 points behind Grant, and Knopfsker would be going in 11 points behind Grant. And if there's anything that we've learned, not only on Thursday nights, but pretty much every series this season, Monday through Friday, you don't want to give Grant Wesley any type of a points lead.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that Grant Wesley's been on quite the tear. I know a lot of the series that you and Jack Mitchell call throughout the week. He's, been up there dominating a lot of those series, and here he is right up here, the top running of the championship contenders for the time being right now.
We'll be covering all of those season finales next week. They're going to be at Kansas on Monday night. Grant Wesley, the most recent winner in that series, but he and Jeremy Jeffries actually coming into that race tied for the points lead. Jeff Supta right in that conversation, 9 points back. Ron Hagel a distant 23. That's your final 4 in the Bare Bones Racing Series. We'll be covering the iRacing finale at Kansas Speedway. They don't run for points there, but Grant has had quite a number of wins on Tuesday nights. Wednesday night, they'll be at the 1970s version of Charlotte. Grant Wesley is leading over there. Classic points, and Grant may have actually that championship locked up. He ended up picking up a victory at Homestead, Miami last Wednesday night, extending his points lead into that finale. And then, of course, we've got the finale for you on Thursday night for this Talladega Challenge Series. And then Friday night's the pole race. I believe they're at Mansfield, if I recall correctly. And Grant Wesley is leading the points over there as well. As a matter of fact, I've had a lot of fun racing with those guys on Friday nights in the Amish Survivor Series. They have alternating weeks of a thing called the Enduro Series, where it is 3 25-lap races, no damage, and you have to try and make your way around the racetrack, all while you've got AI cars that are trying to wreck you. Last Friday night, Grant Wesley went a perfect 3 for 3. I don't know how he does it.
I'm telling you, whenever
AIs have to get you. That's hilarious.
Yes.
When it's your time, it's your time. And right now, I guess it's Grant Wesley's time. I mean, like I said, what a tear he's been on in every series that you just mentioned, and here in this series as well.
Now you see right behind Grant Wesley is Chuck McClure. So this is the best case scenario for driver 17, if there can be one. He is a lap down, but with where he's currently running, he is the first driver 1 lap down. So he would be in one of the 2 lucky dog positions. Denny Carroll, Cy Jones right behind him. They are also fighting for one of those 2 lucky dog spots. I believe the 28 of Mark Paglia also falls into that conversation. So for Chuck McClure, he's got to keep those Hungry Wolves at bay to maintain that spot, but he still is hoping to see a yellow flag to keep his hopes alive of still competing for the championship. As they've been chain bumping pretty aggressively in this pack. That's at least the 2nd or 3rd time I've seen the 38 of Rodney Sullins get a little squirrely, and that's on a straightaway.
Yeah, it's kind of scary when that happens to you on the straightaway. You would expect that if someone gets into you in the middle of the corner, but it's aggressive as they're being tonight. Well, Chuck McClure just blinked for a split second right there, and we've seen that happen to him a number of times this season. So hasn't fallen out of any races yet because of it, but still not a good feeling when it happens.
Yeah, as you say, we've seen last few weeks or so car disappear, reappear pretty quickly. Hasn't really affected his runs at all. Saw him go to victory lane a couple of weeks ago, so fortunate for him, it settles out pretty quickly after it happens. Just double checking on that second pack. They are now starting to run in the 47s. They're almost matching the lap times of this lead group. This lead pack are in the mid to low 47.9s. That second pack are in the mid to high 47.9s. So they're not losing nearly as much ground now as they were before. The problem is, though, when they were losing ground, they were losing a lot of ground, and you got to go nearly 5.5 seconds back from this lead group to that lead car of the second group. we're also about, what, 4 laps away from when these drivers are going to have to make the dive onto pit road again.
Yeah, this race is starting to really fly by, and when it goes green like this.
Would you be surprised if we see this lead pack kind of split up in terms of when they come to pit road? Do you think they all come to pit road together to try and maintain this advantage they've got over the rest of the field?
It wouldn't surprise me if a couple of guys out there have a different strategy when it comes to pitting, but I think it would be wise if all of them were to pit at the same exact time. But we'll definitely see what happens here.
Just a reminder to the viewers, too, that 43 is not a lap down. He's about, 10 feet from being a lap down. He's not the lead lap car. It's the 38 that's the leader. We're just watching the 43 2.66 miles behind.
What they call the tail end of the lead lap.
The very tail, yeah. And he's been running at that very tail end for a while, so...
And
this next cycle of stops here, I wonder when he decides to go.
And people might be wondering, well, if he's on the tail end of the lead lap, if he's actually not leading this race, why isn't the 38 passing him? One big reason, fuel. The 43 is out in the clean air. He is using up the most fuel, dragging this line around. Rodney Sullins gets the benefit of leading the race and saving fuel, being in the draft of the 43 this entire run. So he's in a very, very good position.
Never thought of that, yeah. That's brilliant.
And Richard Martin's not holding them up any. He's got a fast car, just, ran into some issues coming to pit road. Somebody made contact with him and sent him spinning into the grass. Speaking of pit stops.
Got a trio of drivers, Robert Spring, Mike Mangialardi, Dennis McCarthy, all on pit road. Second round of green flag pit stop cycles beginning here at Talladega. Some more coming in just a little ways behind them. Elliser, Godfrey, Bombard, and Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
Yeah, Richard Martin's always competitive, so to be stuck behind him is not a bad thing. And the car seems to be working fine, so yeah, works in the favor of Rodney.
All right, here they come down pit road. Not everybody. Yep, there we go. Some of them field got split up a little bit there at the front.
Grant Wesley came down with this group. Some others coming in aggressive behind them, including Donnie Garrett. So a little split this time. It was only Garrett by himself the first time, and then the other 3 championship 4. This time 50-50 with Garrett and Wesley. We'll wait to see probably next lap when Nofsker and McClure will probably hit pit road. Ryan Schilling stays out an extra lap. That'll be a bonus point for him.
Looks like he was the only one of the leaders to stay out that time. The 3 cars behind him are a lap down at the moment as those 4 come down pit road now. Oh, somebody lost it. Nofsker.
He managed to get it pointed the right direction, but Greg Lovell is out into the grass. Nofsker made a little contact with the inside pit wall with the left front. I don't know. Didn't look like the impact was enough to damage the race car, but certainly with him not rolling pointed in the right direction, it's going to be a lot of trouble. Oh, we got a caution.
Caution's out.
I just saw the flagman put out the flag at the entrance of pit road. Maybe the 197 of Pat McCarskey?
Yep.
Like he had a little issue on the apron.
This is going to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to make things interesting as far as who the lucky dog drivers are, because at the time of caution, the field is frozen, but we had a lot of our lucky dog drivers that were on pit lane at the time that the caution came out.
Looked like Pat McCarskey just got loose right there on the apron, just coming off pit road. The tires are cold right there. You got to be a little careful when re-entering the track, because that's exactly what can happen right there.
And they were double wide coming off of pit lane, and the driver to his outside was one of the championship 4 drivers, so I don't think McCarskey wanted to merge up into the driver's side of Donnie Garrett, to your point, stayed down there in the apron and just couldn't find the grip on that low banking. I am a little slightly surprised that the caution actually flew there, just in the fact there was not seemingly anybody around the vicinity when the car actually spun around. Glenn Harris had already kind of made his way by. Mike Mangialardi entered into the vicinity, but the 197 was already down below the yellow line, so...
Showing black flags for the 92 and the 024 Dennis McCarthy. So Bobby Farrell and Dennis McCarthy.
So that's a tough break for them, but it's not the end of the world in the fact that they still are on the lead lap, and now they can serve those EOL penalties under caution rather than a pass-through under green. And
I was told by our colleague Michael Norman out there, he's going to have the EOL as well. Like he made contact with Tim Nosker coming to pit road that time.
Josh McCulloch was hot pitting something awful. I was surprised he didn't get a speeding penalty that last time around there. He gained some spots coming in, I'm pretty sure, because he was hauling.
So, again, it all comes down to the timing of the yellow. But if the scoring is to be believed, Chuck McClure managed to get his pit stop done and crossed the start-finish line, leaving pit road before the leader came around. So when the caution came out, he was on the lead lap. He will not need a lucky dog to be able to get the free pass. The scoring right now is showing Denny Carroll, Mark Paglia as the first two drivers one lap down. So I believe they will be the drivers that will be the recipients of the free passes under this caution period.
He may not have been the lucky dog, but he was definitely lucky right there. The timing of that caution, yes. That could have come out at a better time.
Here's the thing, too. Right now, we'll have to wait and see if it actually cycles around to officially be this. It's got Chuck McClure scored in 18th position. When he was a lap down, he was in 30th. By not having to take the lucky dog, he keeps that track position. If he had taken the lucky dog under this yellow, he would have had to start shotgun on the field again. So that's a huge net gain for driver 17.
Wow. Yeah, you talk about not being a lucky dog. I think he's the luckiest of all of them, because that's wild. Like you said, perfect timing.
In order to win a championship, you got not only got to be good, but you need luck on your side too. And there's a good example of it right there.
Like a number of our lap down cars gonna come down for service. Ooh, interesting. Grant Wesley onto pit lane. Maybe to top off a fuel tank. I got to crunch some numbers here. What do they know that I don't?
It's got 50-50 split the entire field right there going into the pits.
Didn't notice any of the other championship contenders coming down pit road either, at least at first glance. So,
gotta thank our anonymous sponsor too. I forget to say that sometimes. The sponsor for the season, the entire season number 67 here at the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge, wanted to remain anonymous. So whoever you are, thank you very much. Of course, all the viewers watching on either Tarnation TV or Flatout Racing Network, any interaction is greatly appreciated. Pretty awesome that we get to broadcast this 23 or so year old simulator and this many people actually show interest in the product.
Had to
Black
chuckle.
flag
Al Sullins.
McCarthy still.
Looks like it's now cleared.
Oh, it just
Pat
went away.
McCarthy's
Yeah.
out of the race after we saw him spin around the apron to bring out this first caution of the night. Looks like he might have had a flat tire after that spin. The indicator is showing a wheel problem. The reason for him retiring and finishing this race in the 35th position.
Do you think that's a rim or do you think that's a steering wheel?
Maybe both. I don't know.
Steering wheel fell off. Wheel problem.
Grab the steering column like Dale Jr. did.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Trying to drive it.
We were talking about Rodney Sullins. Loved that scenario he was in, riding behind Richard Martin, being able to save fuel. Al Sullins popped up in our chat afterwards and said, best of the 38s, loving that scenario with gas is pricey as it is right now.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, diesel up here in Canada is like $2.40 a liter. So if you have a diesel truck, you better have about $600 if you got an empty tank.
Like a couple days ago over here, it spiked up to $3.99 at most places. I was able to get it for $3.48 at the same time, and can't believe I'm saying that that's a deal, but compared to everything else.
Depending how much fuel you need, yeah. If you need a full tank, definitely a deal.
Just had some more drivers up towards the front. A few of them peel off pit road at this 1 to green. Ulysses Sandoval, Brian Rawson, Kelly Causey, all coming down to top off the fuel tank.
Is Cody Lamas could have restarted 4th?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I noticed. Before the second round of green flag pit stops, he was in that second pack. He had Michael right behind him. Michael wanted me to mention that, him being right behind Cody right there. We've always joked around about Michael being out there making sure Cody, actually races instead of just running in the back the whole time. And looks like it's working right now.
Cody ended up picking up a couple of wins last season in the ASR Super Speedway Series, and I told him, okay, now you've proven that you can win with these guys. Now you got to win on Thursday night. So
yeah,
we'll see if he does it here tonight.
I know we like to mess with Cody, but he really is a good racer, especially with Super Speedways. Both of us know this from experience, so it really shouldn't be all that surprised to see him up there.
So from what I've been able to gather here, I was trying to figure out why we saw that 50-50 split of some drivers staying out the entirety of this caution period and other drivers diving to pit road in the last couple of laps here just to top off. I believe that it's a difference of taking a full can of fuel to a half can of fuel to a splash on the final pit stop. It is super, super close between taking a half can and a splash. And those precious seconds, they may not seem like much, but they actually, in the long run, are the difference between gaining and losing track position. I think that's what's going on right now. We're playing the fuel game of just how much fuel you're going to have to take on that final pit stop if we run green from here to the finish.
Yeah, Michael just told me because he came down pit road that time, and he said now he can just take a half can. So everybody that pitted right there got a little bit of an advantage, as you mentioned.
Maybe 23 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. Brian Schilling trying to win a bracket challenge championship here tonight. If he can outfinish Grant Wesley, Rodney Sullins has led the most laps so far tonight. 22 circuits out in front. Josh Metallic, Cody Lamas, and look at this, Tim Novsker, Donnie Garrett. A couple of drivers that we saw just kind of lingering at the back of the pack that first run, and then riding in that second pack after the green flag pit stops. They're up here in the conversation.
Yeah, I'd have been surprised if we didn't call either one of their names here before the end of this thing.
Pretty crazy being able to work your way through that entire field.
Yeah, again, these were drivers that started shotgun, rolled off the final 2 rows of the starting grid, and now 2/3 of the way through the race, here they are. Grant Wesley's up on that outside line. Scoring last time by had him in 17th. Chuck McClure, that caution was a big break for him. Back on the lead lap. Didn't need a lucky dog to do so. He's currently in the 21st position, so all of our final 4 competitors still have an opportunity here tonight to go into next week's final race of the season as the points leader.
I think we say this every week. Where did Cody come from? Like you said it there too, Kyle. Like, I believe the 48 is up front, and there he is.
He's having a great run right now, pushing Rodney Sullins to the race lead, and now Lamas going to be side by side with Schilling for the second spot.
Kind of interesting, because I just considered this. We'll normally see Cody Lamas, Brian Ross. There's a number of drivers that like to leave the server before the admins kick it forward for qualifying, so that way they are guaranteed to start at the rear of the field. With the fact that the final 4 competitors have to start at the back of the pack, those drivers aren't allowed to leave the server. So Cody ended up starting this race from mid-pack, so too did Brian Rawson, and they didn't get the benefit of starting at the rear of the field like they normally do. So you talk about the Championship 4 outside their comfort zone at the drop of the green flag, kind of the same for some of those guys that just chill at the back in the first couple laps.
And we haven't seen Cody in a couple of weeks. Of course, he's as we mentioned, he's a season ticket holder for the Florida Panthers. Not sure if they're playing on the road tonight or if he just decided to race tonight because they got
at all. They unfortunately have been eliminated.
Yes. I didn't know all the playoffs have the playoffs started.
Michael asked Cody earlier on tonight where he was in terms of disappointment on a scale of 1 to 10. He said -1. So I'm not sure exactly how to read into that, but that was the response.
He's gonna make a move for the lead right here. He's got the 55, or does he have the 55 behind him now? Ken Roberts kind of pushed up a little bit, but look at Joe DeSpirito on the outside. You got Grant Wesley, Jeremy Jeffries, and others leading the outside line right there, and they have a lot of momentum right now.
Ken moved up. I think he was going to try and lead that third lane. He almost put himself in a compromised position. We nearly were 4 wide for a brief moment. Fortunately, he was able to tuck back in between Cody and Graham McDonald in the 33.
Yeah, to update, the Ottawa Senators beat the Panthers 5-1 today, so the game just finished. And they play the Leafs in a couple more days. So it looks like they're swinging through Ontario, them Florida Panthers. Unless Cody wants me to go there and hold my phone up and stream it for him.
There you go.
I'm literally between both cities. I can be at the Sens Arena in 2.5 hours. I can be at the arena downtown Toronto in about 3.
Oh boy, Cody finally line opened up on the bottom. Cody able to get there. And you got Josh Metallic leading that second line. Tim Nofsker. They had Donnie Garrett for a split second, but Donnie goes back to the inside right behind Schilling. As Metallic trying to draw even now with Sullins for the race lead.
You talk about a couple of drivers with really nothing to lose there. Sullins and Josh Metallic, they were in that tooth and nail battle last week with Tim Nofsker to try and see who were going to be the final ones to get into this championship 4. Rodney ultimately missed out by 3 points. Josh missed out by 10 points. Oh there
boy.
We go. Did they
Jeremy Jeffries?
Oh, I was going to say they had it saved, and now
Almost.
the follow-up wreck. Tim Anderson has just left the atmosphere.
Somebody else is upside down. I can't tell who that is. Now Anderson upside down. See,
Lovell as well on his lid.
26 upside down. Man, there's a lot of damage, a lot of carnage in this one.
Wow.
If this was a high jump competition, I think Anderson won.
I think so too.
Thought Anderson was about to leave the whole game.
I caught that
Rawson.
from the roof cam of the 39. It looked pretty wild. Go back and check
Michael
that out.
just requested that we watch it when we go to a replay. Watch from his perspective. I guess he
Okay.
had quite an interesting view.
No back end on the 01 of Jeremy Jeffries, that general lead paint scheme. He was the first one I saw out of shape. I think Graham McDonald pushed up into him. I thought for a moment they had it saved when Jeremy went up into the outside wall, but then everybody behind was reacting, and I think there was some follow-up contact that eventually led to that massive wreck.
Oh, was there contact between the 74 and no, 33 just pushed up a little bit, and they about had it saved, and then I think the 880, somebody got into him, and it was on from there.
This is Sandoval, Dennis McCarthy, Mark Paglia all got bits and pieces. I think John Godfrey was also collected, Kelly Causey. It was a chain bump. It was a really tight chain bump in that middle line. Ken Roberts, Graham McDonald, and Bernie Mobbs. Maybe Cy Jones involved in that as well. They kind of chain bumped as they entered into the corner. That got the 33 unsettled up into Jeremy Jeffries, and it was just on from there.
Man,
I'll tell
just
you
look
another
how-
driver that when you went up, if you go on board there with Michael Norman, a guy that's right behind him, followed the exact path that Michael did through that wreck, was Chuck McClure, one of our championship 4, just squeaked his way through the incident.
Just look how violently you see Tim Anderson and I believe it was the 26 of Billy Eilister. Just how violently those two cars are bouncing on the track whenever they come down after getting all that air.
corner wrecks are maybe some of the toughest to dodge and usually some of the more violent as well, as we see right there. Because you got cars that are traversing up the banking to the outside wall and then sliding down the banking as well.
This is almost more fun to watch Tim's shadow from the 30. You go see Tim's shadow, the shadows of the cars. It's like, well, where are these shadows coming from? It's like, those are these guys up in the sky over here.
Well, Ulysses Sandoval was involved in that too. I didn't notice that at first.
Yeah, a lot of drivers. I think I've counted about 11 drivers total that ended up getting major damage out of that wreck, and there could be some others that got some dings and dents that we didn't necessarily see immediately.
A lot of damage there to Dennis McCarthy, the 24. Probably my favorite throwback in the field.
Pat McCarskey's going to have some company in the garage area after that one. So far, John Godfrey, Billy Elliser, Denny Carroll, and Tim Anderson have all retired from the race. I don't recall seeing the 41 involved in the wreck. So I'm not certain why he's retired from the race. I'm going to double check back real quick and see if he got any piece of the incident. Oh, there was actually a follow-up wreck that I didn't see after the wreck off of 4. Brian Rawson got Denny Carroll, and the quarter panel turned him up into the outside wall. So add the 6 and the 41 to the list of those involved in the wreck, and that's what took Denny out of the race.
Yeah, that just completely pancaked the left side of the driver's side of that car. Just totally killed the handling on that thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's another one that Michael Norman was able to dodge. There's so much going on.
It looks like maybe Bernie Mobbs took responsibility for that caution. He stayed out. He led a lap, but now has since come to pit road, second lap of pacing, to serve that penalty. That turns the race lead over to Joe DeSpirito. And I was going to mention, just before we ended up having that big wreck, Josh Metallic, Rodney Sullins really with nothing to lose now as they're no longer a part of the championship 4. We talked about it before we went green. This 24 of Joe DeSpirito, we've seen him, even when he's not in the hunt for the championship, be able to rack off multiple wins during the course of a season. And right now, that caution, he's got good track position here, starting from the inside of the front row. Be interesting to see if he's able to hold everybody in the rearview mirror and maybe get his first win of the 67th season.
He's going to have Grant Wesley alongside him right there in the front row, and I'm pretty sure none of the championship contenders have yet led a lap tonight.
Double check on that for you, and you would be correct, sir. Yes, 0 all across the board in laps led for all 4 championship drivers.
Donnie Garrett's going to restart in row number 3 alongside another championship contender and Tim Nosker. And I see Chuck McClure not too far behind these guys either. So, here we are getting down to crunch time, and, championship contenders are starting to show themselves here.
A lot of damage on the left, right, and rear of Ulysses Sandoval's machines. He was in the middle of that wreck. He's brought his car to the garage area. Looks like Cy Jones and Richard Martin, they're going to be the beneficiaries of the free passes here under this yellow. So it looks like we're going to have 29 drivers still running, and I believe that 27 of them will be on the lead lap as we are closing in on 10 laps to go here at Talladega. Just noticed that the 38 of Rodney Sullins is at the back of the pack. And he was up there in the race lead when that caution came out, was battling with Josh Metallic. So I don't know what the strategy was here for the 38. But he's now going to restart back, looks like around the 24th position.
Michael just told me that it sounds like Rodney had a pit road penalty. That's what put him back there.
Thought we had Milt Surratt in our chat earlier. I don't know if Milt's still there, if it's too early for the Who You Got Surratt. I know that we're going to be at 13 to go this next time by, but there's a lot of good candidates up here to choose from of who could maybe take the checkered flag here tonight. And not to say that we won't go 3 in a row with a playoff driver finding the checkered flag, but you could make a case for a lot of non-playoff drivers up here as well. You've got Schilling, Metallic, DeSpirito, Ken Roberts back there, Brian Lovell, Bobby Farrell, Terry Bombard all up here inside of the top 10. I mean, I mentioned about the fact that each time we end up having eliminations, the odds decrease of a playoff driver winning each and every week. And right now, you've got quite a number of really strong race cars, championship caliber drivers up here that still are looking for that first victory of this season.
Kind of surprised to not see Milt Surratt out there. He's made a number of starts this season, but not in the field tonight.
Well, everyone should be good to make it on fuel now. Question will be, what's the next flag we're going to see? Will it be the white flag, or do we see a caution or two before we get there? Joe DeSpirito back up through the gears. Pretty even start between himself and Grant Wesley. And it didn't look like either Josh Metallic or Brian Schilling really wanted to try and time that start to be able to give a bump to the respective lines, just kind of trying to keep the bumpers as close as possible.
Looked like Metallic got a better start than whoever that was that he restarted alongside. I can't remember.
Brian Schilling, I think it was.
Brian Schilling, yeah. It looked like Metallic was ready to go, but somebody that's ready to go right now is Grant Wesley. Nice move from the outside to the bottom. Going to go to the inside of Joe DeSpirito to try to take the lead here and get a very crucial bonus point.
I think he's got that advantage through the tri-oval. So there you go. I think he heard you, Kyle. Says none of the playoff drivers have led a lap yet? Well, here you go.
Until now.
Boy, they're getting antsy mid-pack. Chuck McClure, last time down the back straightaway, made a big move to the outside of Doug Hewlick. He's in that third lane, and Donnie Garrett has now jumped up there as well. Joe DeSpirito, Brian Schilling, they're stuck in the middle line now. They'll find some help with Terry Bombard. We're slicing and dicing here.
And they chose to start at the back, but most of them are up the front. So
I'm curious if the fact that Grant Wesley's now out in front, I wonder if that's kind of, made the other championship contenders kind of get up on the wheel a little bit here to get up there. But
there they go.
Schilling's in there.
Chuck McClure's in the middle of it, and he just got clobbered by Brian Rawson. Bobby Farrell's barrel rolling down the banking.
Racing back.
Terry Bombard, Cody Lamas, Graham McDonald, Michael Norman was in the middle of that.
I think Michael avoided it. He slowed way down and got onto the apron. Don't think he got any contact, but we have a race back to the line here. Josh Metallic.
Yep.
Look at Donnie Garrett. He's going to make it 3 wide. Gets up into Knopfsker.
Oh, Knopfsker pancaked the right side. That's going to be some damage on that 088 as Grant had to give room to Donnie.
Garrett. Wow. What a run by Donnie all by himself, too.
Metallic's going to win that battle back, though, by about half a car length. And I'd be a little concerned right now about the right side of that Amp Energy Chevrolet. Nothing Grant could really do. Donnie put the move on him coming off of 4. He had to move up and give room, but was 3 wide. Got up into Knopfsker, and the only thing between Knopfsker and that outside wall was his race car. I don't know if they would take the time to come down pit road, repair that car or not.
I think your bet is made at this point in the race, but man, we almost had 3 championship contenders all wreck at one time right there. Nice job of hanging on to those race cars.
Well, and the 6 guys that were racing back 3 of them were the contenders there, like you're saying. That wreck involved a lot of the field.
And one of the drivers they collected was the other of those championship 4, Chuck McClure. It looked like
Oh yeah,
initial contact wasn't that terrible for him. He did nose it up in the outside wall, but then he gets a shot in the passenger side door from the 6 of Brian Rawson. That's the contact that worries me the most. A wild ride for Brian Schilling and Bobby Farrell. Like maybe our old friend Bumper Grab came into play on that one. 044 of Brian Lovell off the back bumper of Donnie Garrett.
It's like Brian Schilling was upside down for a split second. A lot of damage to the front end of that car. He's a lot of laps here tonight.
Consider this as well. Grant Wesley's leading this race. Brian Schilling now going to be damaged. Almost question mark set in stone that we're going to a sudden death rematch next week for the Bracket Challenge Championship.
Almost being the key word there.
Pit road was open, and it does not look like the 088 came down pit road, so he will deal with that right side damage. And that's one of the tough things about a super speedway too, is because it can be so finicky in terms of how the damage affects the race car for the remainder. I've seen drivers that have no back end still be able to finish up inside the top 5, but you get just a little bit of damage on the right side and you lose 2 to 3 miles per hour of straightaway speed.
And we saw that a week or two ago. I believe it was Rodney Solins. The entire back end of that car was missing, but I think he ended up finishing either in the top 5 or the top 10 at the end of the race. So I mean, yeah, but you go up there, just hit the wall at the slightest bit a bad angle right there, and it could completely ruin your race. It's just it's crazy how the physics work in this game.
As you mentioned, Blaine, we are at the point now where all cautions are raced back. A couple of drivers that are now up in the 6th and 7th positions did a great job maneuvering their way through that wreck, used the apron to get through. Rodney Sullins and Jeremy Jeffries, who were at the tail end of the pack at the time that wreck broke out. So now they find themselves up in good position for this upcoming restart, which might be a little too early to say our final restart. It's really going to depend on when the lights go out here. We normally target lap 62 as when that'd be the point of no return. If we get the lights out this time, we're going to have a couple of laps before we get to that portion of the race.
And take a look at the 01 of Jeremy Jeffries right there. The entire back end is missing off that car. So
yep. That was a few weeks ago, just before the playoffs began, that we saw Josh Metallic pick up the victory and secure himself a spot in this season's playoffs. Mentioned most recently, along with Rodney Sullins, Bob Seminara, and Denny Carroll, eliminated from competing in the Final Four. As you said, Kyle, only a handful of drivers, only 3 drivers, Knopfsker, Wesley, and Garrett, have gone to victory lane multiple times this season. It's been pretty spread out amongst those that have been able to pick up a checkered flag this season. Josh Metallic would like to join those 3 as a multi-time winner this season.
He's in prime position right now. He's got a couple of championship contenders right behind him.
Well, we ended up running little more than half of this race under the green flag. Saw a couple of cycles of green flag pit stops. The first caution waved right in the middle of that second cycle. And since then, we've seen the caution flag wave another couple of times. It sent a number of drivers back behind the wall. We can now add Brian Lovell and Bernie Mobbs to the list. That already was comprised of Ulysses Sandoval, Greg Lovell, John Godfrey, Billy Ellisler, Denny Carroll, Tim Anderson, and Pat McCarsky. Believe that the 21 you see there of Randy Waugh,
Luigi,
he was the only driver 1 lap down, so he will get the free pass, and that will put all of our remaining 26 drivers on the lead lap.
Looks like they're going to get the one to go this time by.
We're talking about, 2-lap buffer between this restart and the point of no return. I might be wrong, but I believe that the 17 of Chuck McClure, I'm going to just double check on it. I don't think he actually came to pit road under this caution period. Scoring right now shows him restarting in 11th. Yeah, he never pit, despite the damage we saw him get in both the front nose and the passenger side door.
That was a pretty good swap that he took from the 6. I'm surprised he didn't want to put some hammers on that, see if he could bash that out of there.
I agree. But he'll restart in 11th. All 4 of our championship contenders going to restart in the top 11, with Donnie Garrett, the highest of them, in 2nd, Grant Wesley in 3rd, Nofsker 6th, and McClure in the 11th spot. Looks like Rodney Sullins is going to lock up the bonus point for most laps led here tonight. 28 circuits from the lead. Nobody with a number of laps left can challenge him for that. Josh Metallic has led 5 laps so far. Brian Schilling 7. Pat McCarsky, who started this race from the pole position, led 9. And then 2 laps led for Ulysses Sandoval. 1 each for Bernie Mobbs and Grant Wesley, the only one of the championship 4 so far that has been able to get that valuable bonus point tonight.
And currently running 3rd, right around Garrett. Nofsker back in 6th.
Man, that's a lot more damage on Nofsker's car than I realized right there. That entire right side is pancaked. Didn't see the damage at first there, but I just caught a glimpse of it.
We'll have to keep tabs on both the 080 and the 17 as we get up to speed here for what could be the final restart of the night. 6 laps to go at Talladega. Josh Metallic back up through the gears in that McLaren throwback.
Josh Metalladega.
See a bit of a gap there from Nofsker back to Jeremy Jeffries. That back end damage seeming to affect Jeremy as they stacked up. Dennis McCarthy down on the apron, seemingly wanting to drop to the back. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back up.
Boy.
He does, but he had to slow quite a bit to do so. That will most likely lose him the lead pack.
Metallic able
we're wrecking. Cody Lamas hard up into the wall. Brian Rawson and Randy Waugh collected up in this as well. Caution waves. And I think we may get a 1-lap shootout.
Oh boy.
Caution comes out on lap 62. We're racing back. This is an important race back here too, because we've seen usually on final restarts, if you can be the leader, you got a good chance of keeping everybody else behind you. And a 1-lap shootout, even more so. Can Donnie Garrett edge Josh Metallic here at the line? Doesn't look like it.
No.
Metallic got the big head of steam.
3 wide coming to the line, guys. Keep it. Okay. Couple guys got close right there. Didn't like the looks of that, but looks like they keep it together.
It's all the question there for those drivers of, are we racing back to the proverbial checkers or not too? Which is why I think we saw those aggressive 3 wide moves in the middle of that lead pack. But Josh Metallic, he's a driver that's hoping that these final 4 laps are run under pacing, because that would put him in victory lane. Wesley, Garrett were the top 3 crossing the line there, followed by Roberts and Despirito. Looks like Nofsker crossed the line 8th, McClure in 12th. So you know that McClure and Nofsker, they would love to see another green flag, an opportunity to pick up a couple more spots before the conclusion.
The official
Looked like it
pacing
happened
vehicle
over
here.
in entrance of turn 1. And I think we were at the point where everybody was just shoving, trying to get the lines going.
Looked like a bit of a stack up right there in front of Cody.
Kind of started from, looked like Richard Martin to Mike Mangialardi, back to Cody, Brian Rawson. Nowhere for the 21 of Randy Wadigo. He got sandwiched up into the outside wall. Robert Spring, a little piece of it as well.
It's a tough break for Cody. He was having a good run all night tonight.
That looked like the rear end, the rear tires of the 48 got lifted up off the ground. That was at the tail end of the lead pack there, so we didn't have more drivers involved. Now's the big question. I don't think that the lights will go out any sooner than the completion of this lap. They do have the EXE that allows them to expedite cautions. We're seeing them somewhat doubling up here. I wonder if maybe, I mean, we didn't have any lap cars, so we have to bear that in mind. I almost wonder if they had the thing, we're opening pit road this time by, next time by, we're turning off the lights and having a one-lap shootout.
And Michael just told me that's what they are trying to do, trying to see if they can get a one-lap shootout here.
Also, the league has a special service side set up where they can turn this green again.
Yep, they can add or
lights just
subtract
went off.
pacing laps. There you go.
Yep. Lights just
Going
went
green
off on the
this-
back straightaway.
So this
Yep.
is a 2-lap shootout then. This isn't a 1-lap shootout. We're going to have a green-white checkered.
Cool. That's a cool option. They don't use that a lot here, but it's nice that it's in play just in this type of scenario where, like, hey, guys, does anybody need to pit? No? All right, cool, let's go.
Exactly. I mean, you kind of go back and, yeah, the 3-4 caution laps that the in-game yellows, it warrants the opportunity to be able maybe come down pit road, get a little bit more fuel for the upcoming restart. But I like this, too, where we get the option for this type of a scenario because, you know, obviously, you've raced this entire race. You put yourself in this position. Unless you're Josh Metallic, you don't want to see this thing end under yellow.
Or even Grant Wesley. I think he'd be more than happy to take a second place here in the first race of the Championship 4. But gonna have 2 more laps here and gonna see if Metallic can hold these guys off. How aggressive are guys like Donnie Garrett gonna be here?
We were talking about Garrett and Wesley. We can see them, and then Nofsker is back in 8th right now.
Doesn't look like that right side damage affected him on that last restart, so he should be good to go. Chuck McClure looked up to speed as well. Grant Wesley gets a nice launch. He edged Josh Metallic at the start-finish line, but did he get too good a restart? Look at the daylight between him and Ken Roberts.
Donnie Garrett all over the back bumper of Josh Metallic, gonna push him to the lead.
All question, can they make it back to the white? If a caution came out right here, we'd race back to the line. The race would end under yellow. If they can get back to the start-finish line, we will race back to the checkers no matter what. There's McClure up on the top side 3 wide. Look who he's got with him. Richard Martin, who spent a good portion of this race leading the field in the tail end of the lead lap. He's trying to finish the night out with a top 10.
Here comes Despirito with a look inside him. Garrett can't get it done. White flag this time by.
Just a couple 100 feet to get to the stripe, and it looks like they will make it under green flag conditions. 2.66 miles to go. Metallic keeps it pinned to the bottom. Garrett right behind him. Wesley trying to find something in that outside line with Roberts.
What does Donnie Garrett do? Does he jump up in front of Wesley? Yes, he does.
Wondered
Nice
if Wesley
move by
might
Garrett.
shoot
This-
3 wide, but he's going to push the 77 to the lead. If Garrett's clear, does he go low? Oh, he's thinking about it.
Gotta try to play both sides here if you can, but it looks like the middle groove has the momentum for the time being. Here comes Wesley
Grant.
looking.
Top to bottom, back to the top again. Blocks through the tri-oval. Oh, this is going to be
baby,
close.
baby.
Big push from Ken Roberts. Grant got him.
Wow.
Oh my God,
Unbelievable.
Man.
Stay tuned. We'll be going back and watching that a few times. Unreal.
I mean, what a move. He put like three or four
three
different
moves.
jukes on him in the tri-oval.
I was trying to find a camera angle. I'm like, you know what? Look at that's amazing. There's two playoff drivers doing a 1-2 finish. Not a lot separating them going into next week.
My
I'm telling you, this
goodness.
season has been probably the best season of the Talladega Challenge that I've seen in terms of racing, in terms of the finishes that we've had. That's another one right there. My goodness.
Scoring says
4 wide
6
behind.
1,000ths of a second was the
Michael,
interval.
you had a pretty good view of this finish, man. What was?
That was insane.
Where did you get in that?
9th.
Very nice.
Yeah, restarting on the inside, there was not a lot I could do. We kept it going until the last lap there, but yeah, that was fun. 100% fun, and you know, I was really hoping I'd be good there. I knew Tim probably wasn't the happiest with me coming to that caution flag when I kind of forced him 3 wide, but to be completely fair, we held it, and 2, I kind of thought it was going to be the end of the race.
Yeah, I saw that happening. I'm like, oh boy, these guys are getting really close here. I hope you guys keep it together, and thankfully you guys did. And
That would have been the absolute worst time for any side-by-side from any one of us.
but look at this move by. I mean,
Yeah, we're just watching this back here on my end, and just from top to bottom, back to the top. Grant Wesley, he's got a lot of gratitude to give to Ken Roberts, because Ken, I think, was a big difference maker in him having just enough momentum to edge Donnie Garrett there at the line.
and if anybody's wondering why did they, when this track was built, why did they put the start-finish line at that point?
That's why.
Portion of the racetrack is for finishes
For that
like
exact reason.
If the start-finish line would have been in a traditional place, Donnie Garrett would have won this race. But
So here's the thing. We ended up seeing all of our championships 4 start the rear of the field. We saw a couple of them involved in some wrecks here tonight, sustaining some damage. Nobody is going into next week's finale safe. Grant wins the race, yes, but Donnie came home 2nd, Tim Nofsker 6th, and Chuck McClure finished in 8th. So they
unreal!
all
Wow.
finished in the top 10 here tonight.
And what
We're
about the
talking
brackets?
single-digit points for that championship going into next week.
Well, that's going to make it that definitely locks up that we're going to have one more round of the bracket challenge right there with
That's what I
Grant
was going to say.
Russell winning
What
the
about the
race.
brackets? Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Schilling bringing it home in 23rd, and Grant picking up that victory. So yeah, sudden death there between those two next week. Wow. Now, the one thing that we do have to take into account with Grant winning this race, I believe that you still get the 5 bonus points for winning. So that might be a little bit of breathing space for him over Donnie Garrett, Tim Nofsker, and Chuck McClure, but it's not going to be much, because we're still next week undoubtedly going to have between 30 to 35 drivers, if not a full field, to close out the season. So there's still going to be a lot of points on the table to be able to be made up, and going to be almost probably a minuscule points lead separating the entire Final 4.
What more could you ask for heading into the final race? I mean, man.
Well, it looks like we're going to go a little out of order in our post-race interviews here. Normally, we would interview the third-place driver, but it looks like he is currently in a conversation. So we'll talk with the 2 drivers that were involved in that incredible photo finish here tonight. 2 drivers battling for a win. More importantly, 2 drivers battling for a championship. Let's dial up tonight's runner-up finisher, Donnie Garrett. Hey, Donnie, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
I'll tell you what, I mean, we begin this final round of the playoffs, and this first race does not disappoint. High drama from start to finish. 6 1,000ths of a second for this checkered flag here tonight. I know you wanted that victory here. You come out on the losing side of the photo finish. Good points going into next week, though. Was there anything else you could have done there through the tri-oval?
I almost banged the crap out of Grant when he come up there, but I was like, man, you know what? I know the other two were behind us, and I was like, you know what? I hate to lose that like that, but Grant's one of the best out here, man, and he won that fair and square. I didn't want to hold him up there, but just looking for a good finish. This is about consistency, and man, I think I'm heartbroken, but I thought I had that damn thing, man. And but starting in the back, I was scared to death about starting back there, and we worked our way to the front slowly and just methodically, like I tried to, and whew, so close.
I was going to ask you about starting at the back there. We obviously saw that you were a part of that second group after the cycle of green flag pit stop, seemingly not gaining much ground in the lead pack. How difficult is it, especially in the fact that it's not just a one race takes all, it's now the cumulative amount of points between this race and next week's race. How difficult was it to remain patient and maybe get a caution to be able to catch back up, but no guarantee that was going to happen? Did you have any type of strategy to get back into the conversation?
Pit early, try to pit early and get in and make up a little time. But racing at Talladega 101. This is a learning. Anybody listening? This is a learning part right here. Follow the white line. Don't go up. Don't go down. Follow the damn white line. Because what's happening, our line kept getting crazy because no one would stay in line. They go up the track, down the track, up the track, down the track. You got to stay square to the guy in front of you. You got to stay on the white line so everybody knows where you are, because you can't push. I'd come up on a guy to push him. He'd move off the line, and I'd have to hit him halfway, and I had to back off because I was afraid I'd spin him. So, Talladega 101, man, white line all the way around the track, and stay square to the guy in front of you. That's a fast line. And we kept breaking up the lines back there because we just couldn't follow. But, just stayed patient. Again, I'm just looking for a good finish. I was up in the top 12 or so. And, that would have been fine. I'd have been fine with that. But, like I said, luckily with that caution, we went in early, I think. And then that caution came out, and some of those guys had stayed out, trying to build up a little bit of gas, I think. And then that they had to go in, which we leapfrogged them. And that's how we was able to get to the front.
Kyle mentioned about the fact that this season, with your 2 victories, you've proven that you are able to deliver in the clutch. You had to win to get into the playoffs. You had to win to get into this Final Four. And next week is not necessarily must win, but certainly have to perform in the clutch once again. With what you've been able to do this season, how well have those race victories prepared you for the task ahead in next week's season finale?
Well, I really don't want to start in the back. I'll tell you that much. That was hair raising back there. But the bad thing, well, the good thing with the bad thing, Grant got 3 extra points. So it's not like I finished one position behind him, because I lost 3 points to him. And of course, he led that lap. I don't know if I led a lap tonight. I can't remember if I led a lap, which I doubt I did. So that's 4 points. So all he's got to do is finish 4 positions ahead of me, and then beat the other 2 guys, Chuck and Tim, and he'll win this championship. But yeah, like I say, it's man, it's just an honor to be here. I mean, really, I come into that cutoff race 24th in points, won it, came out 17th, got in the playoffs, went into the second round, clutch again, got to win. I've already won this year, you know what I mean? And but hey, you know what? We got nothing to lose, and I'm like Gonzaga a few years ago in the Final Four. But yeah, we're just going to keep on plugging, man. Keep on going.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, with what we saw here tonight, we can wait until we get to next week's finale, see who ends up claiming this championship. Again, I know you wanted that victory, but a great points night for you, sets you up nicely to be able to compete for that championship, take the whole thing a week from tonight. Donnie, before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Just got to thank everybody. Thank you guys. Rodney Sullins, man. Got to thank that guy. I wish he'd have been in the championship with us. And like I say, with a couple of those deals at the end there, kind of knocked him out. We should have been 5 of us. That'd have been fun. He finished 7th, so he'd have been right there. But hey, got to give it up to him for them paint schemes, man. That Astroglide car, I want to tell you, I slipped into the number 2 hole tonight. So, we were definitely in the number 2 position. So, but I tell you what, the old Astroglide car, what a sponsor, man! Free Astroglide. I mean, it's everything, man. It's everything a man can want. And I tell you what, I can't wait to go get them next week, man. I am pumped up.
Well, we can certainly tell that. Donnie, congratulations on the great run here tonight. Really exciting finish this first race of the final round of the playoffs. Best of luck in the finale next week.
Woo!
Donnie Garrett, the Nature Boy, brings it home P2 here tonight. We'll dial
That
up the
was
driver.
quite the sponsorship plug,
Yes, it
right?
was.
Yes, it was.
We'll dial up the driver that he finished runner-up to in victory lane in just a moment, but it looks like we got our third place driver now available. Let's get a hold of Josh Metallic. Hey, Josh, the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Man, I'll tell you what. Had that car out in front here in the closing stages, trying to keep those hungry wolves at bay. I know you would have loved to have been a part of the Final Four to compete for the championship here tonight and into next week. But it looked like maybe you're able to race a little bit more aggressively tonight because you didn't have that pressure. Could you have done anything different to have this machine parked in victory lane instead tonight?
I could have thrown more blocks, but yeah, I didn't want to do anything stupid. I definitely didn't want to be the guy that wrecks the field on the last lap, wrecks the chasers up there. But I wasn't going to lay down and give it to them. You know, I thought that third line might come in pretty quick, so I felt pretty comfortable even when they started going. But when Donnie got that move and then Grant shoved him, I'm like, oh, they're taking off. And that third lane didn't show up until I think the tri-oval. So I would have probably done something similar even if I was in the chase. But yeah, I might have thrown another block or two just to be certain. But it was a heck of a finish, so I'm glad the way it turned out.
We ended up seeing a lot of drivers end up getting some timely cautions, specifically for you, the first caution that came out. I believe you were a part of that second group after the cycle green flag pit stops. We were looking at lap times, and you weren't really gaining on the lead pack. If we had continued to trend green, did you have any kind of strategy in line to be able to get back in this conversation, or were you absolutely needing a caution to put yourself in the position late in this race that you were?
Well, we tried with the lane with the drivers we had, and then we just weren't getting there. So, you know, once we started losing time, I said, Tim, you know, let's just go and see if we can jump to the front, see if we can do any better. And of course, that cost us more time than we ever gained back. I was going to hot pit the crap out of it and hope for a couple of those guys in that lead group to fall out, and then we could set up another pack exiting pit road. Usually that lead pack, when you go green for a long time, there's 40 guys, then there's 25, then there's 10, then there's 6. So they keep losing guys each pit stop, and you hope the second group gains guys. So I didn't think we were out of it, but 5.5 seconds with 25 to go was going to be a pretty tough task without a yellow.
Yeah, we saw you go just about as wide as one possibly can and still make the commitment going. The first cycle of pit stops, Blaine commented on how aggressive you were coming to pit road on the second cycle of pit stops. Can you kind of explain for everybody watching here, because we saw obviously the championship 4 making some big moves, but there's a lot of you guys out there as well, obviously, unfortunately, not running for the championship, and now that kind of frees you up to maybe make some moves that you wouldn't make in a championship situation. How easy or how difficult is it to balance those moves, knowing that there are some other drivers up there? I mean, we ended up having the scenario on that final restart of the final 4 drivers all restarting up inside of the top 11.
Yeah, I try to race everyone the same way. I mean, I know that's easier said than done, but you know, my whole thing was if I beat all 4 of them, I don't have to worry about racing any of them or helping and picking and choosing. So I'd rather just beat all of them. And whether it's a guy that's going for his first win, his 10th championship, you know, I'm not going to give anything to anybody, but I don't want to be screwing them, putting them in a bad spot, putting them into a wall, causing them problems. So you make it tough on anybody, but don't put them in a bad spot. Don't wreck them. Whoever it is, if you just drive like that, it doesn't matter who you're racing, you should be okay.
Well, Josh, a great run for you here tonight, a great performance, some good momentum to maybe get your second win of the season in next week's finale. A solid podium run here tonight for you. Congratulations on the great performance. Almost able to pull off the victory here tonight, but still got one more opportunity to do so a week from this evening. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks to Sean Prime, Jason Scheck, Jeremy Jeffries, the other owners that keep this place going. My schedule's rough lately. I'm not running as much as I used to or want to. I definitely want to be here more nights, and they're doing a lot of work keeping things going throughout the week, the other series going, so appreciate all them. Tim and Rodney for helping every week. You know, it's a 3-person deal to keep this thing running the way it does, and all the drivers. I mean, we had a couple more wrecks than usual. It wasn't like last week, thank God, but awesome racing. So appreciate everyone that comes out and supports the series, supports the league, and you guys too. We love these broadcasts, and I'll be anxious to go back and watch this one again this weekend.
Definitely an awesome race, an awesome finish, and we can't wait to see, if this is any indication, what we're going to be seeing in next week's season finale. Josh, congratulations on the great run here tonight, and best of luck to close out the season next week.
Thanks, guys.
Josh Metallic P3 here tonight. Josh was actually the runner-up in the closest finish prior to tonight to Donnie Garrett. That was back on the March 5th broadcast, the March 5th race. Tonight's interval blows that completely out of the water. 6 1/1000ths of a second, the closest finish so far here in season 67. And let's dial up the driver that had just enough of a spoiler to be able to get the checkered flag here tonight. He's parked in victory lane. Let's dial up Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got the copy?
Yeah, I got you. Let's go.
I'll tell you what.
It's Granthausen.
Literally, last to first challenge here tonight. You started shotgun on the field, last of the championship 4, 34th off the grid. You're parked in victory lane here tonight. But man, you needed a couple inches to be able to do it. A wild finish here tonight, and certainly got to be some great momentum for you going into next week's finale race.
Oh my God, I'm still winding down off of that. I was almost shaking after the finish of that race because just the intensity was cranked up. With that caution with 5 to go or 4 to go, I thought maybe that might be it. And then they said that they would try to shorten it, and I had a pretty good feeling that it was going to work. So I was like, I was sitting second, man. I was ready just to cash in the chips and just walk away at that point. I had Donnie behind me, and I was going to be the best of the 4. I was good with that. And, so we get the green, and the inside lane was just getting a run. We were trying to be aggressive in that second line. We were keeping it on their door. There was a couple times in 1 and 2 where we kind of got the side-to-side thing where we got too close, and we kind of got by with it. And, so I kind of gave a little more room at that point. But, after that, Ken and Rodney, man, I just cannot say enough about those guys. Those guys, they stuck with me there at the end. I can normally expect to find those guys and get help. And I just really want to just give a shout out to BSR and those guys. But, yeah, in that last lap, man, they pushed. The third lane formed. They stuck with me. And that's what made it possible. Donnie, he got a little greedy behind the 39. Whenever I seen him move up, I suddenly felt like I had another shot because I knew that obviously Josh was going to drop, and then middle lane was going to be strong. I didn't know. I knew the third lane was still moving. I knew Tim had some damage, so I thought I was in a pretty good spot at that point. Coming off 4, I had Donnie pushed out to the lead, and I was second. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do to try to win, other than get Donnie moving around. So, of course, I kind of, as we came off 4, kind of faked high, and I had him looking, and I went low, and he blocked low, and I went high again. Luckily, Ken didn't fill that hole. Like I said, he stuck with me, and he gave me that shot on the outside of Donnie. And then the third lane was coming, and oh man, all chaos broke loose. And I can't believe that I beat Donnie to the finish.
Normally when Milt Surratt's not on the racetrack, he pops up in our YouTube chat feed, and we have this running thing with him of who you got Surratt in the closing stages. He's got a pretty good track record, and he picked this number 88 to finish in victory lane here tonight. So he had that call correct. I heard that sigh just moments ago. And Donnie alluded to that this race victory not only gives you the momentum going into next week, but that's 3 extra bonus points as well to give you at least a little bit of a cushion going in with the points lead into the final race of the season. Do those 3 bonus points, do they factor in maybe in any way, shape, or form now the strategy for you going into next week's race, or does it really not affect it all that much?
No, I'm still pushing. It's going to be identical to this one. It's still going to be try to get to the front as quick as possible. That'll put you in front of any messes that happen, and try to lead a lap, try to get that bonus point. Because, as you've seen, man, coming off 4, it goes 3 wide. You can go either direction, forward or backwards. So 4 points is not a buffer. It's not a buffer for a championship race here in the Tally Challenge. It's going to help. But yeah, we're still going to go for another win.
Well, I mentioned about all the different things that this victory does. We can also add into the fact that now you send it to a rematch with Brian Schilling for the Bracket Challenge Championship. And also, we can also dial up the fact that with this 3rd victory, if we end up having the championship end in a tie between you and one of the other Championship 4 drivers, your 3 victories would eclipse their 2 unless they win next week, and that would give the tiebreaker for the championship. But I want to talk about next week as a whole, because we mentioned you have been on an absolutely tremendous run here in season 67. You're going in co-points leader in the finale on Monday night in the Bare Bones Racing Series. You've all but got the Wednesday night championship locked up. Here you've got the points lead going into next week's finale on Thursday nights, and I told Kyle about your crazy luck on Friday nights. I'm still trying to figure out how you went 3 for 3 this last Friday night in the enduro races, but just talk about the momentum as a whole that has stretched across the entire week here in season 67 of RTG. How in the world are you managing to be able to do this? Different mods, different tracks, different series, different point systems even.
Yeah, I've won, championships, one off here and there. One thing I've never done is won all of them. And that's definitely what I'm going for. I'm just trying to keep this momentum wave going. I'm just asking for one more week. You know what I mean? Like just one more week, just keep the train moving. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't want to jinx myself, but yeah, I'm definitely shooting for it. The carrot's hanging in front of me.
Well, you can't jinx yourself when you're cursing the rest of the field, as Grant Housen. Very nice, very fast, very evil, as Brian Schilling coined you. But Grant, an incredible run for you here tonight. Your 3rd trip to victory lane. Tremendous momentum going in next week. So you look to close it out with another championship here on Thursday nights. We'll let you get back to you celebrating in victory lane in just a moment. But first, floor is yours for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, just want to, shout out Brian Schilling. Man, he ran up front all day today. He's a tough competitor. He's really tough in that bracket series. It wouldn't be the first time that he would have won it. It's unfortunate to see he got caught up in someone else's mess. But I know he's going to be tough to beat next week. So, I just want to thank the owners here. Sean, Jeremy, Josh, and Jason Sheck. I think I praise those guys like crazy, but they deserve every bit of it. The admins here, Josh, Rodney, and Tim. This is, second to none here on Thursdays. I look forward to it every week. FRN, FRN, Tarnation TV. Thanks, Kyle, Blaine, Seth. Thanks all you guys for being in the booth. Michael as well. My teammates with XFM, and I'd like to thank my friends and family for watching.
Well, that's Grant Wesley. A victory here tonight has him as the favorite going into next week to close out the championship here on Thursday nights. He'll look to see if he can keep this momentum going. One race left to run here in the Talladega Challenge Series. Best of luck next week, Grant. Enjoy this victory here tonight in preparation for our season finale in 1 week's time.
Thanks.
Grant Wesley, his 3rd trip to victory lane. That has him standing alone for most wins this season, followed by Donnie Garrett and Tim Knopfsker. It will be 11 points, the separation amongst the final 4 going into next week. Grant 5 up on Donnie Garrett, 9 up on Tim Knopfsker, and 11 up on Chuck McClure. But I think that we can safely say, based off the fact that none of our final four started any better tonight than 33rd, and none of them finished any worse than 8th. You can't count out any one of these drivers going into next week.
No, and I'm glad it's like that. You know, the lowest finishing of the championship four was Chuck McClure, and he finished, I believe, 8th. And, you know, I'm glad all 4 of them have a shot at winning the championship next season. I'm glad we don't have anybody that's, you know, the finish way down in the running order that's going to, you know, basically need a miracle to win it. I'm glad to see all 4 of them still have a shot at this thing. It just makes it even more exciting for us to watch and call.
Certainly doesn't. We saw a number of the Championship 4 have to overcome some adversity here tonight. Some of them actually finished the race with damage they had sustained in the 2 previous cautions. Next week, when we talked with Donnie, we talked with Grant, you could hear the relieved exhales as they were talking. Obviously, tensions were super high. Adrenaline was probably pumping. Nerves were probably shot. Now they got to do it all over again next week. How difficult do you think it's going to be now with just one race to go? No do-overs, no opportunities at reprieve or a comeback here. Now it's all laid out on the table. What has got to be the feelings for these guys when they get ready to take the green flag next week?
I would imagine really the same feeling that they had, you know, coming into tonight. And it was interesting, you know, you asked both Donnie Garrett and Grant Wesley about, you know, the 3 bonus points that Grant got for winning the race tonight. You know, Grant said that no, he's not thinking about that. It feels like it doesn't, you know, it's not a big deal. But Donnie mentioned it. And he said he definitely does. He definitely, you know, knows about it, and it's definitely in the back of his mind. So 2 different perspectives about the bonus points that Grant got for winning tonight.
Will be really interesting to see how that plays into the strategy of our Championship 4 going into next week. Again, much like they did tonight, we will see them start at the rear of the field for the season finale. We'll have to see if that ends up being a huge mitigating factor into who hoists the championship trophy in 1 week's time. But what an incredible precursor to that finale race here tonight. This first race, the final round. Closest finish of the season, 6 1/1000ths of a second between 2 of those playoff contenders. Grant Wesley just edging Donnie Garrett. Nofsker and McClure come home with top 10 finishes as well. What does next week have in store? We'll have to wait and find out. Got a little bit of everything here tonight and expect nothing less in the final race of the season. Yes, indeed.
I'm still here, by the way.
We thank you all for joining us for our coverage here tonight. Congratulations once again to Grant Wesley on his victory. We will see you guys next week as we get ready to crown a champion here on Thursday nights in the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. For Blaine, Donald, and Kyle Matthews, Michael here as well. I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks. We'll see you right back here Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to crown a champion here in the Talladega Challenge Series, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network and Tar Nation TV.